Hello, it's 4 news o'clock on Allnews Nigeria. I am Okwayemi Olugbemi. Here are the headlines for today. Taliban bans women from universities. Ukraine president makes first visit outside the country since start of war. Elon Musk to resign from Twitter. It's a dark day for Afghanistan as the Taliban have continued to deny women their basic fundamental human rights. Afghanistan women on Tuesday, December 20, were hit by a devastating blow as the Taliban banned them from attending university. A letter confirmed by a spokesperson for the Higher Education Ministry instructed Afghan public or private universities to suspend access to female students until further notice in accordance with a cabinet decision. The United States and Britain have both condemned the announcement and are likely to raise concerns within the international community, which has not officially recognized the de facto administration. The US government has said that a change in policies on women's education is needed before it can consider formally recognizing the Taliban-run administration, which is also subject to heavy sanctions. Human Rights Watch reported that the acting Ministry of Higher Education, Nada Nadim, ordered the suspension of education for girls in both private and public universities. In a tweet, the organization condemned the move as a shameful decision that violates the rights to education for women and girls in Afghanistan. Now let's take a dive at the treatment of women by the Taliban after the invasion. During their first rule in Afghanistan from 1996 to 2001, the Taliban were considered notorious internationally for their misogyny and violence against women. After their takeover in August 15, 2021, the Taliban had treated women unfairly. It's safe to say history is repeating itself. After initially promising to open all schools after a 7-month ban in March 24th of this year, Taliban reversed this decision 2 days after the initial announcement. It further ordered that girls' secondary schools were to remain closed indefinitely until policies which were compliant with principles of Islamic law and Afghan culture had been put in place. All female students were compelled to abide by strict dress codes, wearing their burqa, gloves, and strictly black garments. Women in general have been banned from certain jobs. Those who still have jobs are required to be accompanied by a male member of their family to their places of work. Women are also prohibited from traveling without a male family member and also compelled never to be caught without wearing an hijab. Now let's take a dive at some facts about women's rights in Afghanistan. Under the Taliban, the lack of rights for women became government policy. Women were once again excluded from public life. Their access to civil rights and liberties was radically cut. As a woman before 2021, it was not all easy to openly pursue an alternative life vision, such as independence or homosexuality. But now it is impossible. Women's rights activists face huge threats. Nonetheless, Afghan women continue to resist the violence and fundamentalism of the Taliban. Imagine living in a country as a woman where constitutionally it is a crime to use public transport except being aided by a male. This the women have been subjected to. There's absolutely no protection for the female gender threatened by violence. Need I mention how forced child marriage in a bid to combat poverty is rampant? Also, girls have now lost their total rights to education, rights to work, rights to protest, among all ills. Credits to the Taliban. In other news, Ukrainian President Volodymyr Zelensky is set to travel to the United States to meet President Joe Biden at the White House on Wednesday. The trip would mark the first time the Ukrainian president has left Ukraine since Russia invaded on 24th February. The Ukrainian president is set to address Congress on Capitol Hill. He will also meet congressional leadership and National Security Committee chiefs from the Republican and Democratic parties. On Tuesday, U.S. House of Representatives Speaker Nancy Pelosi said there will be a session of Congress on Wednesday night which would have a very special focus on democracy. US politicians are set to vote for a year-end spending package, including around $45 billion in emergency assistance to Ukraine. Meanwhile, the US is preparing to send Patriot surface-to-air missiles to aid the country in repelling Russia's invasion. The funding will be the biggest American infusion of assistance yet to Ukraine, surpassing President Biden's $37 billion emergency request, and will ensure funding flows to the war effort for months to come. Meanwhile, on another episode of Elon Musk, the Twitter boss has said that he would gladly resign as CEO if he finds anyone foolish enough to take the job. This comes after Musk launched a poll asking users for their verdict on his tenure, saying he would abide by the results. As the deadline passed on Sunday, 57.5% had voted for him to leave. The poll was an apparent attempt to draw a line under his controversial reign. Roughly 20 minutes after he posed the question, as the yes vote edged ahead, he added, "As the saying goes, be careful what you wish, as you might get it." Responding to a comment, Elon Musk said, "The question is not finding a CEO. The question is finding a CEO who can keep Twitter alive." And that's it on the news. To keep up with Allnews Nigeria, kindly follow us on all social media platforms displayed on the screen. We will be back with more news updates tomorrow. I am Opeyemi Olubemi. Do have a good day.